Now, we all love a bit of Hans Niemann drama, especially when he's raging. If you want to know how angry he gets over chess, then check out this clip.
You will see my growth as a chess player. There will be a day when I take down Hikaru, where I take down Danya, where I take down Magnus, and where I rise to the best online Blitz player in the world!
And that is how Hans will be feeling right now after this game. It was played in round 6. His opponent here was Marc-Andrea Morizzi, a French chess grandmaster who's currently the world junior champion. Only 16 years old. Very dangerous. This is an epic game with, wow, what a conclusion. So we get e4 on the board by Hans Niemann. By the way, this is being played at Tata Steel. It's the challengers version of the tournament. The Wimbledon of chess, they call this whole event. Very prestigious. Round 6. e5 played, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4 starts the Italian game, knight f6 in response, invites the old fried liver attack and that kind of thing, but not today. d3 played, and now I'm drawing on the board here the most common moves for black. But what we see in this game is d5. Very much a sideline, because traditionally you don't start opening the centre before you've got your king to safety. Unless you're Magnus Carlsen, right? Check out that crazy playlist, which I'll link at the end. So we see knight takes on d5. Castles, bishop e7, but rook e1 starts to highlight the vulnerability of the centre when you've not yet castled and everything. So f6 was played. Ugh, gross, right? Ben Feingold wriggling when he sees that one. And Hans plays the correct response here, d4. You're looking to take a tin opener to that centre, really crank it open because black hasn't yet castled. So knight b6 was played, hits this unprotected bishop, bishop b3, really natural, staying on the diagonal, but then you do drop a pawn on d4. Now it's playable for white, you go a pawn down, but you get a quick bishop f4 with pressure, the e-file opens, it's a different variation. But Hans didn't go for it, he went bishop b5 instead. So pins this knight, we see castling, unpinning, and now Hans takes, shattering the pawns. I mean, you really want to hold on to that light squared bishop in such a position as this. But having said that, when you shatter these pawns and then get huge pressure here, it's also a logical way to play. Now, why not take immediately here? Let's quickly explore it. Well, queen takes, rook takes, and bishop g4 is an annoying follow-up. Now, you can even win a second pawn. But black saying here, I've got these bishops, annoying pressure here, very difficult for you to develop your queen side naturally. Knight c4 could be coming, or knight a4. The rooks quickly pile up on the centre here. So white's doing fine. It's playable if you tiptoe with an engine and you're precise, but black gets huge compensation. So Hans goes h3. He says, all right, I've still got pressure. If you take, my knight's going to centralise in an amazing way, staring at these weaknesses. So instead, black goes for rook e8, offers the pawn. A second time, Niemann's like, fine, dude, you want to give me your centre? I'm going to take your centre. I'll recapture. I'm going to go a pawn ahead here. Because after captures with the f-pawn, knight recaptures, and simply bishop f6 played. I've got to say, I admire the kind of ballsy strategy here played by, sorry, I forgot the guy's name now. What was it? Mark, wasn't it? Mark, I've not analysed one of his games before, right? Only 16 years old. You know, he's really taken the fight to Niemann here, the higher rated player. Because if Hans wanted another pawn, he could go 2 pawns ahead here. But he doesn't touch it. You know, a5, for example, takes away the knight's retreat. This bishop is covering some squares. This one's developing quickly. The other rook's joining the party. Again, you run it with an engine, things are fine, roughly level it says, despite being 2 pawns down. But when your whole queen side is undeveloped, well, it's a bit scary. So Niemann just drops back, says fine, being a pawn ahead is enough, plus these ones are doubled, do your worst. So we get bishop f5, developing more pressure down here, of course. Pawn a4 now from Hans. Ambitious move. He could have started with knight c3, say. And now this knight hops into c4, pressuring b2. This sniper is eyeballing the undefended rook. There's pressure here still, of course. So knight d2 played by Hans, and now there's really different ways to go. Many moves that the engine finds to keep a kind of balance, but black goes for this one, taking the knight off the board. Hans recaptures with the bishop here. He allows this b pawn to crumble. If you'd recapture with the rook, it was possible, but then this one slams down with check. There are new problems we're not going to go super deep on. So Hans has gone for this line, but he's unraveled everything. Finally, he can start counter-attacking, plus he has the slightly better pawn structure here, and he's going to be the first to invade with the rooks. But he starts with king f1, coming away from this diagonal here, preparing to meet this move, rook f8, with pawn f3. Deals with the threat. Now we get rook a d8, centralizing, pressuring d3, and Hans goes rook d to c1, eyeballing the c pawn. c5 therefore played. Rook b7 invades, hits 2 points, and now rook f7 covers the c7 pawn, and this is where Hans needs to brush up on his endgames, right? So the top moves here, rook c4, blockades this pawn. There's also this nice maneuver, bishop e1 to g3, hitting this long diagonal, keep some pressure, squeeze your opponent's balls, as someone once said to Kasparov. I think it was maybe Petrosian on playing Karpov, right? Keep them under pressure. But what Hans does is rook takes on a7. You win a key pawn, create the outside passer, very nice, but c4, excellent counter shot. The bishop's on the rook, easy to miss that one, but okay, not at this level. Rook b7 played, and now black takes on d3 here, and these pawns are getting really dangerous. Now Hans goes a5. I never actually explored why he didn't take this pawn, so we're going to do it live together here. Okay, takes, the computer saying rook recaptures, rook b8 is the top move. Okay, so I guess you're getting a lot of counterplay here, and then you can come behind this pawn. Maybe we get some kind of exchange of pawns, and then you've got the 2-on-3, should be holdable for a draw. Fine, we won't go super deep on that line, but that seems to be why Hans did not touch this pawn, but instead started pushing that a pawn. Tempos are so key in endgames, right? So rook e7 played, looking to invade on e2, then you'd be eyeballing this square, plus the bishop. That's nasty, so rook e1 is an important move, best move, and now this is great play. The rook slides to d7, comes away from that file. No more pressure on the pawn since you moved the rook here. These ones nicely positioned. Rook b3 now from Hans, he goes after this. I did look at what happens if he carries on pushing. Different kind of game basically. Black tries to get that one going as well. Now we get bishop a7, protecting that pawn which had just been attacked, and Hans now comes back with the rook. Hits the bishop, goes back to d4. Are we going to see a repetition, a draw? Well, Hans wants the win, right? He's higher rated, wants to kickstart this tournament. He hasn't been doing great. So what we see played is this rook coming to the b file. He doesn't repeat moves. King f7 played. Rook 1b3, eyeballing that pawn once more, but now c5 is a great move. Why didn't Hans do this and pick up this pawn? Well, now there's a tactical problem. c4 comes on the board, and what do? You have to actually give up an exchange, because if you come to this square, the only one available now, well, you walk into bishop b2. This attacked, you can't defend it all. If you try this, then there's this, everything's covered, black is winning. So that one can't be touched. Maybe Niemann missed this. He goes pawn a6. We get c4, huge tempos. Now this one's captured with check. Rook recaptures, rook b7 played. You don't want to be taken, of course. This one's going through, getting really dangerous. So king e6 now played, and it's at this point that Hans leans back, and rumour has it he caught a whiff of his own scent because he'd forgotten to put on deodorant that very morning. Suddenly hits the nostrils, up into the brain, pure fog. He goes bang, rook takes on d7. Pure brain fart, terrible move. He's now losing the game. What should he have done? Well, in this position, it was best off to go for this sneaky tactic with bishop c3, because if captures, now you can take, push the pawn. It's unstoppable. Therefore, the bishop has to come here. Then you can start doing this with the king, and you just slowly wait on the position. Don't break the tension. Things still roughly level. It's a different game. But what Hans did was terrible. The king recaptures. Now he goes for this trick, bishop e3, but this time after takes, king c6. Black is so many more tempos ahead. The a pawn now drops. Hans gets the f pawn running, sure, but it now gets covered by this bishop. No queen for you, sir. Bishop d2, c3. Hans is so far behind in this race. He doesn't even move his bishop. You know, what if he comes here or something? Well, now these pawns just push. d2, I was looking at c2 there, but this is always going to be stronger. Blocking the bishop, the king comes, and you can just do this, make a baby girl. That is the game over. So king e1 was played. Now king c2, not rushing things. We get bishop takes, king recaptures, king d1, d2, g4. Hans throwing these pawns down the board. Can't get my words out, but here we just see resignation, because bishop g7 and white's in a kind of zugzwang. What do? You can make a queen, but it just gets taken. You can push, takes, you can push, takes, push, takes. Eventually you're going to have to give ground, and then you're just making this queen next move. Wow, what an atrocious loss for Hans Niemann. He is on the struggle bus. Now, if you enjoyed this one and love a wacky opening, check out the playlist on screen of awesome Magnus games, and don't forget to subscribe to never miss a future video. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you soon.